Citizen Sleeper 2 welcomes you to Star Wars Rebelled with its cyberpunk setting and dice rolling formula from the first game. It's narrative-driven RPG with focus on characters and choices, all supported by dice and clock systems to push you towards your freedom or doom. Let's get into the details. You play as a sleeper, an android, one of many, dependent on a certain substance to function. But you managed to overcome that obstacle, and now you are chased by the corporation that had owned you. You will need to be resourceful, bold, and smart to outrun your pursuers while handling yourself, your crew, and your ship. The core of Citizen Sleeper is its narrative and characters. You will meet a cast of not brilliant but interesting people, all having their own goals and troubles. You will form your crew and choose who among them will you take on certain jobs, exploring their character more and adding their set of skills for certain tasks while you're taking on the different contracts. There was an actually cool set of encounters with one of the NPCs, where we had an argument and I chose to leave her on an abandoned wreck. I stumbled upon her later and we had a discussion and decided to give our partnership another shot. By the end of the game, we were really good friends and I was invested in her character. I wonder what would have happened if I sided with her point of view at the start and never left her stranded. There are two main structures you will be engaging with: hanging around in spaceports, gathering intel and resources, and going on jobs called contracts. Clocks are the system that propels you forwards. To finish a task, you need to fill the clock with certain actions, of which you always have multiple choices from your skills. And sometimes the clocks are negative, the approaching trouble that follows you. Each day or cycle, you will roll up to 5 of 6-sided die that you will assign to activities you wish to engage in. Work for extra cash or supplies, investigating for new locations or clues. Your dice are modified by skills your character has, some positive, some negative, and you will always know the chances of outcomes on actions you take. There are 3 classes or character options at the beginning, all providing a different starting stats and a unique ability that provides a way to modify the outcome of the dices. The skill and upgrade system is fairly simple and functional, and it's hard to imagine how it could have been made better considering the simple mechanics of the game. But it still leaves you wishing there was a little bit more in the way you could engage with upgrading your sleeper and maybe influencing the outcomes of your choices. Luckily, the choices you make during the story and actions you wish to take are multiple. When exploring or working, you are committing to a certain progress. Trying to do all of the available options can lead to finishing none of them. You start to a certain activity and try to beat the clock, or just do your best so you can have some spare actions to make more money for the meals, fuels and supplies you will need to survive and go on to contract jobs. Contracts play a bit differently. Here you spend supplies you brought on the job and try to finish the work before the supplies run out. If you take too long, you start getting stress and your dice might get damaged. Too much damage and you lose an action until it's repaired, and the stress negative outcomes can and will lead to glitch dices, a special die that has a very high chance of failure. You will need to use them to lower the chances of them returning on subsequent cycles. And that is what to me is appealing about the original Citizen Sleeper and the sequel. You are not only making meaningful choices in the narrative compartment of the game, but also in the technical one. You got a bad roll for the day? Do you rest and go into the next cycle, or do you risk negative outcomes on the roll? Sometimes it's hard to decide if you want to push your luck or play it safe. I had a situation where I was low on resources, but the trouble was right behind me and I had to go on contract to avoid it. I was low on resources and the job went poorly. My 2 crewmates had bad rolls and I was forcing the job. Because we were low on supplies, I had to push my luck and risk it all. My teammates failed a few times, so they filled their stress bars very quickly, and I was left alone to finish the job. And here the situation kinda spiraled out of control. I could not abandon the contract. I was forced to smack my head against the unfavorable actions, and stress kept taking my actions away. I failed and got into sort of a weird reboot thing where I got some of my actions back and I continued to force the job. I ended up completing the contract, but returned in a pretty bad state back to the station. All the negative consequences were mechanical, and I had no parts to fully repair myself. But I wish there was an option to fail and get some narrative consequences as well. My journey with my crew was a worthwhile experience. While the sequel is not changing too much of its core designs, feels a bit clunky and unfair at times, it is really fun and deep RPG experience. Also, there is no voice acting, so if you're not ready to read quite a bit, maybe you should skip it. But if you're willing to give it a chance, I think you just might find something wonderful in the deep cold abyss of Starward Belt. The team at Jump Over the Age have crafted a worthy sequel, and I hope they continue to make this type of RPGs or a sequel in the future. I award Citizen Sleeper 2 with a rough little asteroid with valuable resources out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, may I ask you to consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching.